I mean, you could barely maybe make out just the back end of it, but I guess the whole point is that light, when you turn it off, the second you turn it off, kill it right now, boom, that's what they see, is you and a couple of dudes standing there with a tripod in the middle of a wide open field.
If we were hunting thermal, this is what the animal sees if we were standing out here hunting thermal.
If you're hunting by yourself, it's a no-brainer. I mean, there ain't no way that he's gonna see you if you're by yourself with just that light. Even if the truck's hidden somewhere down the road, they could still see you standing there plain as day. I would take that light 10 to 1 on a night like this than I would straight thermal.
Yep.
It's basically like that truck completely disappears the moment that light comes on. If I can see what they see, and I can see you with my naked eye. I know if I can see you, he can sure as heck see you. I can see the truck and you and everything plain as day right there without the light. What we do is the extreme of hunting at night, and to be honest with you, it's overkill for a guy just wanting to go out there and hunt.
It's really overkill for hunting at night. We're trying to bring night hunting into your living room in the best quality that we can with the lights.
I've said from day one, you could literally hunt out of a bright yellow school bus with nothing but that little light on your head.
What is the one thing thermal cannot do? Well, before this show's over, that's a question we're gonna answer. But for now, I've got something else on my mind. Back when I first started night hunting, there were no TV shows or internet videos or even DVDs to help a guy out who's just getting started. Pretty much what was passed down from the guys who did it before us was the way that we learned, because we had nothing else. These days, if you want to learn how to do just about anything, it takes little more than a simple internet search or even a YouTube video. But back then, we didn't have that luxury. Back in those days, there was no thermal, so if you wanted to hunt at night, you really only had one way to do it, and that was with lights. Now, some of you newer generation guys may say, that must have been horrible not having thermal. Well, believe it or not, I'm actually thankful for growing up in that era, and for several reasons. Believe it or not, we actually had a blast in those pre-thermal days. And contrary to popular belief, we killed a ton of animals with just lights. No thermal, just lights. And those who were around during that period understand, back then, if you wanted to get good at night hunting, you had to have a good understanding of lights and how to use them, because that's all we had. Thermal was not on the scene yet. Essentially, if you night hunted during that period, you had to learn how to use lights. That was your prerequisite to success. Well, these days, all that's changed with the growth of thermal throughout our sport, especially with the cost of thermal finally going down. More and more guys are jumping on the thermal train to enjoy the sport, which is great. I love it. But the one thing a bunch of the newer generation doesn't have is a good understanding of lights, because they weren't forced to like we were in the past. Heck, I've even had guys watch the show who've only been night hunting a few years, never ran lights before, and watch the show and say, those animals will come to a light? Like it was something completely new or foreign to them, which to them, in that generation, it is. How they perceive night hunting is thermal, because that's all they know. Basically what's happened these days is for the price of a thermal, a guy can skip basic training, aka learning about lights, and jump right into it with just thermal. Well, I'm here to inform all you guys out there that may be in that boat, you may be missing out on a few tricks us older guys had to learn about lights. Believe it or not, there are things lights can give you that thermal simply can't. Now keep in mind, I'm not saying thermal's not an extremely effective way to kill, because by God it is, and that's why we use it. What I'm saying is there's much more to this sport than just thermal. And there are certain scenarios where lights can be a night hunter's biggest weapon. And when we come back, we'll give all you die-hard thermal guys a few things to think about. This was a pretty interesting stand with Barrett and his daughter Avery. She was really itching to go, so we were trying to get a coyote to come to the lights so she could see it for the first time in person. She'd seen it on TV and YouTube, but never in real life. Well, when this one got to about 60 yards or so, he stops and kind of leans over like he saw something he didn't like, then turns to leave. We still managed to get him killed leaving, but Barrett thought he may have seen the truck, which was directly behind the light. Well, I knew better. I've done this long enough to know there's no way he saw that truck with this light. Absolutely no way.
Kill him. What happened? I don't know what happened. I don't know why he freaked out. I don't know.
I knew this coyote didn't see the truck, as he's looking to his left right when he spins to leave. But instead of telling Barrett, I figured it was best just to show him. Sometimes I think to get a good grasp on things, it's just best for guys to see things for themselves. I'm going to start walking to the right. You tell me when you can start seeing me. I'm over here, to the right.
I can't see you.
Can you see me?
No.
How about now?
No.
How about now?
No.
Now?
No.
How about now?
No. Where are you?
How about now?
Only because there's a light behind you that you blacked out.
Hi, sister.
So at what point do you start picking me up?
Right there, but Chris, I don't know, man.
I'm telling you, they can't see it.
Where are you?
Just off the top of my head, there's 3 main benefits that a light can give you, on top of the obvious that you get from thermal. There are others, but these are the big 3 I want you to consider. The first being faster detection in tighter areas. Now, some thermal guys may not even believe that, but trust me when I say it's true. If you have a guy that really knows how to run a light at a good pace, that light will pick him up, I'd say at least 90% of the time before a guy standing right next to him with the thermal scanner. At least when you're in tighter quarters. You can simply scan faster with a Scan Pro than you can with thermal. Now, when you're hunting more open ground, that flip-flops as the animal begins to get outside of your light's detection range, and the guy standing there with thermal simply has more time to pick him up. So thermal wins the detection race in that scenario. But when it's tighter, say under 150 yards, that Scan Pro usually wins the detection race, unless the guy with thermal just happens to be looking in the right direction when they pop out. The bottom line is, the faster you know they're there, the better your odds of closing the deal. The second benefit of a light, which for me is by far the most important, is taking away their one sense that'll usually bust you before anything else on a bright night: their sight. One thing I really want you to understand, as a byproduct of working with a really great thermal company, iRay USA, we have access to some of the best thermal money can buy, and we use it extensively on this show. So knowing that, ask yourself this: why would we still be shining lights when we have access to just about any thermal device we could ever need at any time? That's really something to think about. Trust me when I say there's a reason. I've already gave you 2, but when we come back, I'll give you number 3. This segment of Night Crew is brought to you by AllPredatorCalls.com, your predator calling superstore. Ultimate Night Vision, the source for night vision. Wicked Hunting Lights. If it ain't wicked, it ain't worth it. Recon, rugged and ready. iRay USA, high performance thermal optics. And by Fox Pro, high performance game calls. I really wanted to show you all this particular stand from start to finish, from both the main camera angle you see here, as well as a camera we had behind the scenes to let you see what all is actually going on behind that light.
Do it.
Okay, here's what's really going on that you don't see behind the light. What I really want you to pay attention to is how much control I have over this coyote, because he can't see. He can't see a dang thing. All he can do is respond to what he hears. And guess who's controlling that? The level of control we have over this coyote is given to us by one thing, and it's not thermal. Just remember, the one who can see is in control and has the upper hand. As long as you're dealing with coyotes in your area that you feel will come to a light, the amount of control you gain over them is tenfold what you have without it.
Do it.
And if you don't believe me, let me put this light in your face and we'll see who's at a disadvantage. So finally, the third reason to use lights of the big 3 is control over the situation. Now, obviously, you're never going to be able to fully dictate what they do. They're still a wild animal, but taking their sense of sight away will always be an advantage. And as long as you play the wind and make good decisions on your stands, you stack the deck in your favor. However, the one thing we're about to be reminded of is there is still one sense they still have, even if they can't see. they can still hear a lot better than you think. Sometimes the slightest little sound can put them on alert. So even if you are running lights, if you like getting them close like we do, you gotta be mega quiet. And if you gotta move, you better do it like a church mouse. Anything out of place when they're on point hunting a sound can give you away. Find out how we almost mess up after the break. When an animal's going around us like this cat, the shooter basically has to pivot around the camera as to not get in the camera's way as it pans with the animal. So just as normal, this cat's working to our left and Gary's to my left, so he grabs his tripod and starts backing up, but this sucker hears it and locks up forever. And we're even on a soft plowed field. He's around 80 yards away, but he still heard it. About the only time we ever change sounds on a cat is if they're hung up like this, or if they're booking it trying to leave and we just need to stop them for a shot. You can tell he's thinking things through about the sound he just heard. Well, he's been standing there for probably 20 to 30 seconds, and I gotta do something, so I change sounds. Oh, he likes that. Not sure what that sound was, but he heard it too. His gut's telling him something's off, but he's not listening to it. He's about to find out he should have listened to that gut. And he's even about to hear me talking while I'm telling Gary to bust him. Unfortunately for him, he hung around a little too long. The moral to the story is, even if you have them blinded, you still have to be aware of their other remaining senses.
I didn't want him going any further because I kept getting deeper.
Holy crap, man, that looked like a good cat, Gary.
Yes, he did.
Man, it's crazy how good they can hear. There was a time when I literally shifted my foot just a little bit, and I think he heard it.
Oh, I know he did. He picked you up once. He picked me up once because I was trying to spin where I could stay with him, and as I moved my foot and put it back down on the plowed field.
I know it. He definitely picked us up.
Oh, yeah. Well, because I just repositioned my foot, and all of a sudden he just stopped. Because he stopped on me once or twice. He stopped on you once.
And then he heard me talking when I told you to bust him.
Oh, yeah. That head really kind of come up and looked at us in.
Oh, what was that?
That wasn't supposed to be up there.
Yeah, there's just enough of a hill right there, and he kept getting further and lower and lower and lower. I thought, okay, we're about to be the point of no return here.
Yes.
I may be totally wrong, but I don't think that's a baby.
No.
Well, that's a lot bigger hill than I thought it was.
It is.
You're gonna have to pull him up out of the light just to be able to see him in this camera. Yeah, you're gonna have to pick him up. You may have to just pick him up and bring him up here.
Big old Tom.
Oh, that's a big cat, Gary. He's a lot bigger than I thought.
The main thing I wanted to do with this show was to allow this new generation of night hunters that skipped learning lights altogether to see there's more to night hunting than what you do with your thermal.
Look at the head on that rascal.
If you can afford thermal, you can likely afford a Scan Pro. For goodness sake, they're only a couple $100. Now I realize to you that may seem a bit old-fashioned, but the advantages you gain once an animal's under your light spell are far too powerful to ignore. The way I see things with lights, as long as they're willing to play, shine away.